Welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. For those who are new to the show, could I get you to jump over, give us a little like and subscribe on whatever platform you listen to this podcast. It's a great way for us to grow the platform, grow the production, and have some amazing guests on like I have today. In this conversation, I'm joined by a professional netballer for the New South Wales Swifts, Allie Smith. How are you, Al?
Good. How are you, Keeks?
I'm good. What's happening? How are you? Where are we at the moment? Because we're coming to a close of preseason.
Yeah.
Couple more weeks to go.
Yeah, we're training pretty hard at the moment. We've just had our biggest week yet.
Right.
We start April 14 is our first game, and just grinding in preseason.
How's the body? Because I saw we were talking before. I caught up with Maddie Proud yesterday at the Leaders in League conference, and I was just like, "How are you?" She's like, "Keeks, I'm so tired." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we love preseason.
Yeah.
Fittest and strongest we've been, but yeah, it's hard, but it's love.
The best thing that Maddie said to me yesterday is like, when you come into like the day of training and you walk in and like a lot of the times like you might be tired, you might have a bad night's sleep, or like you might have like been a bit late, we slept through the alarm, and then you'll just sort of like push it to the side and you'll just walk in and you'll be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like the thing with Ali is like, you'll know when something's wrong because your hair will be everywhere. You're like, I forgot my training shoes. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah. It's the hair. It's the dead giveaway. Like, because when I lived in Melbourne, right, I used to travel an hour and a half to get training. So my shit was together before I got training. And now we're 11 minutes away. Yeah. And so I roll out of bed, eat my brekkie, and then we get there, we prep. So we have like an hour before we actually start training. So you do have time to brush your teeth and brush your hair, but if I don't have time at home, I'll just do it when we get to change rooms.
Yeah, gotcha.
So if I am rolling out of bed, the hair is everywhere, and I'm brushing my teeth, brushing my hair before training. So yeah, it is a little bit.
But the beautiful thing is like you live with you used to live with three other teammates.
Yeah, still do.
Still do.
Yeah.
Sophie Fawns.
Yeah.
Who else is in
Maddie
there?
Turner and Sarah Clow.
Sarah Clow.
Yeah.
Do you guys like carpool together? Do you guys all go in together, or is it sort of like you mix it up a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like that's a great question, and we get it a lot. So I think with us, especially being like female athletes, we do have life outside of sport, which is great. So I guess that rolls me on to work. So I go to work usually after most training sessions, and then we also have like physio, different kinds of stuff. So do we carpool? Yes, sometimes, but we all have stuff to do. Places to be, people to see. So
it's sort of like the Swifts cult, hey?
Yeah.
That's like what it's referred to as. We because for context, with Maddie Proud yesterday, the Leaders in League conference, we had all the leaders in the NRL, and we had a female guest panel, which Millie Boyle hosted with Chloe Malloy from the Sydney Swans, captain of the Sydney Swans, Maddie Proud, who captains the Swifts, and Ellie Brush, AFLW and soccer player.
Yes.
So like sick panel.
Such a good panel.
And one of the questions I think it was to Maddie, was like, how do you, or maybe it's to Ellie, or if it was to one of the girls, it was like, how do you make the girls or the boys feel included, especially when changing sports? Because like female sport, like there's so much changing around, lots of movement, especially between like AFL, soccer, NRLW. There's lots of change. So how do you make people feel comfortable when they're coming into a new sport? And the question went to Maddie as well, and she's just like, we're like a team of 10?
Yeah.
A squad of 10. She's like, with us, like when I was living with the girls, there was like 4 of us girls in one house. There was 3 girls like living just up the road, and there was a couple everywhere. It's like, we're as tight as it got. Like you guys must be so close. Does that help going into training?
Absolutely. I think so when I moved over nearly two and a bit years ago now, which is sick, I moved straight into a house with Maddie Proud, Maddie Turner and Sarah Clow. And when I actually moved over, they were all playing for Australia at the time. So I just strolled into this house. I was like, I don't even know what bedroom I'm in, mind you.
So I get a nice room?
Yeah. It's like you walk up the stairs and you just turn to your right and you're at the end. I'm like, perfect. So the fact that I could move in and feel comfortable in a house full of, 4 of us that never met before in my life, to roll into training that following week. And I just feel like, I guess it's a bit of you're cheating because you roll into having 9 best friends in a team. But yeah, I think the running joke is the Swiss are a little bit of a cult. Everyone wants to be in, but you're the chosen one.
Yeah,
not really. But
but that kind of ties into like the funnel of junior sport and like the funnel of how many girls play netball as a kid, and then you guys like, you think like, obviously my background rugby league, and there's a lot of kids, but I mean netball is a whole nother ball game, and to get to being in like your spot, like it's got to be insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I think the funnel is, you nailed it. I think so many young girls play at such a young age, and historically we have been at the top of having young girls, and we have been the lead the whole way, and it's great to see the Tillies come in and NRLW and AFLW starting up in the women's side, which is great for young girls to sort of have more role models that they can look up that are female. And I think, it's great being in the position that we are in. As you said, there's a team of 10, a squad of 15, 16. It's not really that many. There's 80 professional netballers in Australia in the best league.
And how it's like 80, and how like there would be hundreds of thousands of like junior, like girls playing sport.
Yeah, I think Netball Australia just put out as high numbers.
That's crazy.
High numbers.
And then like, what are they? You might not know. You don't have to know. But is there anything that like Netball Australia is doing for grassroots now? Because AFL is coming into the mix, NRLW, like it's like everyone's obviously fighting for the eyeballs of like junior youth, like junior sport. Yeah. Is there anything that they're doing that do you know?
Yeah, no, I'm actually, I know our grassroots is very, very strong in netball. And I guess that's, as I said, it's great that AFL and NRL women are coming in, but also like it's hard to see our rates dropping off, right? Yeah. And I'm sure Netball Australia have got something up their sleeve, but what it is, I don't know. But Swifties, we're just still trying to promote and push it, and we're just trying to get out there as much and promote the sport. And it's actually females playing, or young girls playing sport in general, which I guess mental health is number one on, I guess, why you would play sport, and that's why we're trying to promote it and get these young girls out.
What were some of the favourite things that you enjoyed about sport growing up?
Yeah, sport, I think I never had a chance not to play sport in my family.
You were locked in regardless. Your mum and your dad, there's no way you're not playing.
There's not a chance I wasn't playing. So I reckon I was probably 8-9 weeks old and mum was back on the court playing. I grew up around a netball court. Ever since I was little, mum was playing in hers and I'd be on the sidelines in a stroller or in, who knows what. On the floor probably. But yeah, growing up watching my mum play, I think that's all I needed for a kickstart. And my brother actually plays netball as well. Right. That's how I got into it. I was just this 5-year-old sitting on the sidelines, and Josh's team didn't have anyone to fill in, and I put my hand up. Josh is 3 years older than me, and I just started from there. And mum's like, "Oh, she can actually catch a ball, all right."
She's got great genetics.
Yeah, that's probably what she said. But growing up, I think friendships is probably my number one. It's when you are in a team sport, as I said, when I moved over here, like you walk into a team of 9 best friends. And again, I was lucky enough to grow up in some people laugh at me saying country Victoria. Yeah. But it was country football netball, right? So the boys played footy and the girls grew up, some girls played footy, but majority of us did play netball. And at the end, once you played A grade, you strolled over to the footy and watched the seniors play. So friendships, but also like netball in general growing up has just taught me so much. Yeah. Like there's nothing that has shaped me more than netball, apart from obviously my family and friends. But I think that falls into netball as well, right? Like,
give me an example.
I think I was doing reflection the other day, and it was about resilience. And growing up, I think I was all like, my toxic trait is perfection. So it's why I'm so successful, but it's also my biggest letdown. So I really struggle with failing at things. And it is failing in my head, and I'm working on that. But netball has taught me, like, you're going to get knocked on your ass and you're going to have to get back up, or you're not going to get selected by a team, or truth is not everyone's going to actually like you. Yeah. Or how you play. Not everyone does that, but you find a team and you'll fit into a team and you'll find a coach and your friends and the people around you. And I guess that's the resilience side of it, to be like, all right, well, I can find my feet. And netball has taught me that. And do you reckon a big piece of it would be not getting selected in teams, or like even like you talk about resilience, like
overcoming injury, like especially as a young kid growing up. That's why that's where my head goes. It's like if you're a young kid and you're obviously having a bit of success growing up, you're making the junior rep teams, and then maybe one year you don't get picked, or you get an injury that puts you out for the year, or you get an injury and you don't get to play the grand final, which is a bit more recent, which sucks. But,
it does.
But I look at the resilience piece, like that would be a huge thing for a lot of kids.
Yeah, 100%. I think my pathway is a little bit different. Like I was, I guess, blessed enough and privileged enough to go through what you would call like a Netball Victoria ideal pathway.
Yep.
I started when I was 11 in the schoolgirls, and I went all the way through bottom to top age to 19s. I got picked in the Victorian side, but also the Australian sides, which was amazing. So
in those squads, are they big squads, or is it is it a team?
It's a team.
It's a team of like
it's
10.
So 12 at that point.
So super small, tiny, top percent.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I guess getting not picked wasn't really something that I was used to. I just was, cool, this is great. Like obviously I trained so hard, tried so hard, and was so grateful and deserving of those sides. But in terms of getting picked, I didn't really know what that felt like until I know it was 2020, end of 2021. I had my first contract with the Vixens.
Yep.
Absolutely stoked. It was like, this is my future, this is what I want. And then, we got the wooden spoon at the end of 2021. We went from winning a premiership in 2020 to 2021 getting the wooden spoon. Wow. In end of year review, it was like, sorry, mate, like I just don't think we have a spot for you.
Wow.
And I was 21 at the time, and moved half out into Melbourne, thinking that, this is it. Like, this is my career. This is a team I want to stay in forever. And playing with my idols. And
growing up in Melbourne as well, doing all the junior pathways.
Yeah.
And then, because when did you make your professional debut? Not the 2020 season, the 2020 season. Yeah, great.
That was my debut in the hub.
So you made your debut and then went on to win a premiership with the Vixens.
Yeah.
Talk about a good first year.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, I actually got to play in the grand final. Wow. I was when that last whistle blew, I was on the court. Unreal. Gives me goosebumps still to this day. So, coming off like the highest season into 21, got just a year contract, which was great to start with. And then, end of 21, sort of got told like, sorry, mate, like you're just not part of the team. And I don't even know like what came over me. I was just like, what is this? What is this feeling that I'm feeling? Like, I think it was embarrassment. It was shame. It was, I'm not good enough. It was, God only knows what. I just wanted to cry. I did cry. I wanted to roll up in a ball and not talk to anyone. And my manager was straight on the phone. And I was like, ignore. Like, I can't talk to him. I can't do anything. I just want to sit here and just, self-pity.
Did you, you obviously didn't see it coming?
I saw it coming, but until you hear the words from your coach being like, you're not wanted in the team, or you're not needed in this team in 2022, I was like, shit, man. Anyway, got the courage about a few hours later, I called my manager and he's like, it's fine. Like, we'll get you something, whether it be international, like we'll get you something. And I guess being 21 and thinking, holy shit, I'm going to have to move internationally, like that's a big call. That's
a big move.
Still pretty much living at home in between, Melbourne and Geelong. I was like, but I love it. This is what I want to do. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So he's on the phone and I just went back to everyday living, working 9 to 5.
Really?
Got a job. Yeah. Worked at Quest Infrastructure, and just was like, you know what? What are you going to do? Do I pick up my nursing degree, which I deferred, or what do I do?
Is netball going to be an option going forward? Like, obviously, you wanted it to be. You were so young, like 20, 21 at the time.
Yeah, 21. Yeah. And I think for me, like, I've never pictured my life without netball in it. Yeah. And it was the first time in 21 years I'm like, do I want to play netball? Like, is this where I want to go? Yeah. Or do I want to work a 9 to 5? Do I want to pick up my nursing degree and start doing night shift? Is that what I want to do? Anyway, so it probably passed like 2 weeks. I was like, this. I'm not working 9 to 5.
A bit of humble pie. I'm not going back to work. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. No. So manager calls and he's like, we've got a few grabs in Australia and in SSN, and I was like, sweet, like sign me up. I got on a Zoom with Bryony, who's the Swifts coach, and I just adored her from the start. She's like, what are you doing? What do you want to do? You know, what are your passions? What do you do outside of netball? What do you love doing?
Great.
Which is exactly where I've taken my life now. It's like, you're right. What are athletes doing outside of sport? Because sport is not forever. And I guess I was lucky. Mum and dad did bring me up being like, you got to have something else, mate. Like, you can't just be good at netball forever, which is good.
That's so good. That's my favorite thing about you is like you do what you love. Like, you do what you want to do. Like, everything on field, off field, like who you live with, the people you surround yourself with. So you're not doing it for anyone else, but like for the people and the like things that you want to do, which I greatly admire.
Yeah, thank you.
So how did the Swifts come about? You had a conversation with Brian.
Yeah. Brazza and I had a chat, and she's like, oh, well, I don't think I should do this with you in the room, and then spoke to the general manager and was like, get her a contract. And I was like, oh my God. So I like hung up
is this legit?
Yeah.
We
like,
sure?
oh my God, I need to act cool. Relax. So yeah, I sort of got home, and mum and dad, I was really lucky. Mum and dad let me do it all on my own. They didn't probe, didn't prod. They're like, when you're ready, you'll know. And so I sat down at the dinner table, and mum's like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm moving to Sydney next year, mum. I was like, I just got offered a contract. And I'm like, I get a bit emotional now. And she's like, fuck. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm moving 100%. And so the contract got sent through, and that next day, Simone actually calls me from Vixens and was like, hey, like, what's up? Hi, or nothing much really. He's like, oh, I just wanted to know if you'd like to be part of Vixens for 2022.
No way.
And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I was like, oh, I'll just have to speak to my manager and get back to you. I'm like, this is the next day, and I work with my mum at the time. I'm like, hey, can you come down for a chat? I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I stay or do I take this massive leap and just go for it? Like, the opportunity's there in Sydney. Like, they look like a great bunch of girls. And as you would know on social media, the Swifts are just like so cool.
Yeah. yeah.
But I was like, is that real? Like, surely these girls can't be best friends. Like, that's a joke. Mum's like, babe, you got to do what you want to do.
Yeah. What advice did she give? What'd she say?
Mum's always just been like, it's your life. You've got to own your decisions you make, and you know, I'm not living your life. Obviously, mum wanted me to stay home.
Yeah.
Obviously, but she's like, you just got to do what you got to do. I actually have a tattoo and it says "you choose" on my ribs, and
love that.
And I'm like, you're right. I got to choose, and I choose Swifties. So I got my manager back, and I'm like, I've just sent you back the signed papers. I'm going to Sydney.
Yeah.
So
how good.
That's my fun story about like how I'm here, and then since I reckon I moved here, I think I've changed dramatically as a person. I think moving out of your hometown is a start, and then being introduced to people like I live with, and like Maddie Proud, who you were just talking to previously. I'm just around the highest caliber of people possible, and if you surround yourself with people like that,
it forces you to grow up leaving home. Hey,
Yeah.
like you're already playing professional netball.
Yeah.
Like you're already in the thick of it, but there's a difference especially when you have to leave the state of like, or even your hometown.
Yeah.
So you're going into a new place, like you're meeting new girls. You got to find where the new like grocery shop is. You got to find a house. You got to do the whole thing.
You have
to
pay bills. Like,
pay bills. Like, what do you mean? Healthcare? Like, what does that mean? You know
Ambulance
what I mean?
insurance.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's a whole thing. Like, and that's but that's pretty cool. And it's cool. It's cool that you got to move into a place with the girls pretty much. I remember we had a conversation a little while back, and I remember we were talking about your parents, but your mum was talking about like, you were telling me your mum was talking about like the people you surround yourself with. And I think it was tying into like the like growing up and like being around good people. And I think she said something like, I'll support you. Like if you hang around bad crew, I'll support you. But are these the people you really want to hang with, or is this the people that you really want to be around?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, that's so true.
Yeah.
Like we are so fortunate to hang out with, like you said, the highest caliber of people in terms of being good people.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like so blessed.
Yeah.
Like I literally walked in and these girls just opened their arms and just came straight through. And I think growing up, like again, I was surrounded by amazing human beings. But as a kid, like you have to grow up, and it's hard to grow up. Like what your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 23, 4. Like you go through so many hard shit times, and that's reality. And I think growing up, I really struggled A, with confidence, and B, especially body image and who you are. Like, and I like to give back now and talk to these young girls and, you know, ask them who they are, who they want to be, and are they content who they are right now.
I imagine that's probably a pretty huge conversation to have.
Yeah.
Like, obviously with everyone, but specifically young girls, especially in female sport.
Yeah.
Like we had a conversation yesterday because us boys like playing footy, like do skin folds. And then like, can you do skin folds in a professional netball environment?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can in the NRLW, AFLW, like, and then even a conversation I had with another player, it was just like, it's almost like, and I'm talking about the boy, I can't speak on behalf of females, but the boys, it's like, you're almost walking around like pinching the side of your belly, like oh my god, like I'm coming back after Christmas break, like I'm fat, like on my skin folds is going to be terrible. Like you're weighing yourself every day because you got to be within a certain range. If you're too fat, then you're in fat club, and you're looking yourself in the mirror, and you're like, I was like, that's almost like it's a bad, not a bad sign, but it's almost, I don't know the word for it. It's not body dysmorphia, but it's kind of like
sort of.
Kind of, yeah. Like it's almost a little bit of that. You talk to young girls about body image. What do you say to them? What do you talk to them about?
Yeah, I think when I tell my story about when I was younger, I've always been, like my family, like mum and dad are quite tall. I've always been the tallest and I guess a strong build. I think when I grew up alongside a lot of boys, and I was at their height, if not bigger, if not heavier. And I struggled. Like boys would comment on my height or girls would comment on my height, and I think when you're young, if it's a compliment or if it's not, you don't want to be tall. I didn't want to be tall, but you do want to be tall. And I think, you know, mum would always tell me, like, you're beautiful, you're tall, you're like everything that everyone wants to be, right? But you don't think that unless you actually believe that. Like, I think a lot of people throw out phrases and throw out passing comments that are supposed to help people, but unless you understand what that means and unless you do the internal work, nothing that anyone says you're ever going to believe.
Yeah.
And that's reality, right? And when you're as I said, when you're such a perfectionist, you hear 200 compliments and you hear that one, or you see that one bad comment and you just hyperfixate on that, and it's like, well, how can I be better? How can I be shorter? How can I make myself look smaller? You know, do I pop my hip? And, you know, am I like, that's what I was doing in photos.
Really?
I was bending my knees or leaning over so no one could see how tall I was. And, you know, and that looking back, I'm like, oh, like little Allie just needed, you know, someone who is tall and who is strong.
She needed who is playing professional sport to come in and say, this is what we do and this is what I went through and it's okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day and we were talking about confidence and body image and I guess self-acceptance. And when you're growing up, you're constantly trying to find who you are, right? You can't expect a 10-year-old to know who they are. And I think that's where confidence and self-esteem come into it. And until you know who you are and until you've done the work and you have role models that are helping you decide who you want to be, then you're not going to be content in yourself and you're not going to have a conversation and fully believe what you're saying because you aren't there yet. And that's okay. And people call it mistakes. I call them learnings. Like, we want to have so many learnings, and when you do make a mistake or you have a learning, it's helping you like shape who you are. And I think every time I made a mistake or potentially I was a little bit too boisterous during a training session or you know, something came out that was completely, you know, you shouldn't have said or you didn't mean it to come out who you are, and you know, you take a step back and, you know, you go embarrassed and you get all, you know, shy and you regret what you say, but actual fact is, well, you stuffed up. How are you going to learn from it? How are you going to be a better person? And how are you going to let that help you be bigger and better? And I guess that falls into body image as well, right? Like, so I was doing some research before, or like for my speaking, and by the age of 17, 50% of young girls have dropped out of sport.
Really?
Yeah, 15 being the peak age. And I'm like, why is that? Like,
why?
What is that? And I guess I've done my own digging and research, and like, girls get boobs. Girls get their period. Girls are so self-conscious about, you know, whether their dress is too short or their cellulite's out the bottom, or, you know, you don't want to run around because your boobs are in the way, or, you know, as a netballer, you're in a short skirt like that, you know, the boys could be watching or someone could be judging you, right? And like, I was like, that is just outrageous. I haven't been, I guess I've been so isolated to the world of sport and confidence in netball. Netball could do no wrong. Like playing sport could do no wrong, but that's the reality. 50% of people drop out by 17. And I was like, how are we going to make this work? And again, this stat came out before the Tillies and before netball, or not netball, women's sport has taken that next step. And then I did a bit more research, and 60% of young girls don't have a female athlete that they look up to.
Really?
And I was like, that's unbelievable.
That's goosebumps.
Yeah. It's shit.
But that obviously that's before like the Tillies and everything. That's
yeah. So
wow.
now women's sport and NRL women and AFL women, like they're coming hot. But how do we expect to change? And again, this is me thinking out loud. It's like, how do we expect this to change without media coverage? And media coverage comes from money and eyes on TV and bums on seats. And I get that. And it's like, well, how do we help these young girls become, I guess, the best versions of themselves, which sport brings. Sport can bring so much, and it's not, you don't have to be a professional athlete to enjoy what endorphins can bring. And I guess this is where I'm sitting and I'm plotting, and I'm like, well, how do we get our faces out there? What can we do as female athletes that is going to bring awareness to what we're talking about right now? Mental health is so prominent especially because of COVID years. And, again, I'm speaking on behalf of females, but it's hard growing up as a girl and a boy, but it's hard. And how are we going to sit here today, and how are we going to improve this? And I guess speaking about it is number one. And
I love everything what you just said there, and we could zoom in on a few things. But I guess I kind of want to zoom into that, like having the conversation, and you talked about being tall as an insecurity, right? And growing up, which is like, for me, I would never even have expected that. Like I would have thought being tall, like that's going to contribute to you being a good netballer, like it may or may not, but also like being like an attractive tall girl. Like, I don't know. I just would have thought that would be fine. But then you also said like accepting yourself, like you have to learn to accept yourself. How do you do that? Or how do you think I don't know, what advice could you give to young crew, or even just to anyone about like, you got to accept yourself in order to be confident?
Yeah, this is something that I'm still working on.
Yeah, we're figuring out,
Yeah, I'm at the stage now where I see a psychologist once a week, a clinical psych, so I'm not even in it for the sports psych. I do see a sports psych, but mine's clinical, and I'm a huge people pleaser. Always have been. Keegan wants to do this. Okay, I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it because Keegan.
Well, I hope you wanted to be here today.
Well, let me tell you now.
just pleasing.
No, but that's reality, right? Yeah. Or all the girls are wearing that kind of top. Like growing up, I'd be like, oh, I'll wear that too.
Yeah.
Like I think figuring out. Well, parents have a huge. We were having this conversation the other week, and parents have a huge influence on who you are from the ages of 0 to at least 6. So for parents, if any parents are listening, like you have to remember that the way you pull things apart, or the way you deal with stress, or you deal with life, that's going to go straight onto your kids. If you have the shortest patience, then how are you going to expect your kid to break down something that they've just gone through?
Yeah.
And that builds up over time, right? When you're 2 and then you turn 6 and you've still got trauma in some way, it might not be a huge thing, but if you don't know how to break down your emotions or feel your emotions, then you're not going to be able to do that. And then you're playing a part where you're just pretending like nothing's happening, but it's affecting you so much. And the advice I guess I'd give to young kids is do what you want to do. So when they're going to a party and some kids are drinking, like, do you actually want to drink, or do you just want to copy what they're doing? Or netball, for example, like a few of my friends when I was growing up, like, oh, are you playing netball? I'm like, hell yeah. I'm going to be playing this sport. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, I'll join in. I'm like, well, do you want to? Well, yeah, but like X, Y, and Z's not. I'm like, well, that's okay. Like, they don't have to. I'm sure once they see us and how much fun we're having, they'll want to. So I think taking a step back, and it's hard. When you're younger, it's hard. Your brain isn't fully developed. But is it going to be fun? Are you smiling? Like, just keep checking in yourself. Like, well, am I happy? Like, is my neurosystem absolutely saying like run? Yeah. Is my heart rate high? Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you're walking into your friendship group and your heart's like beating out of your chest, and your anxiety and your palms are sweaty,
Yeah,
knees
yeah.
weak, arms weak.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. That's
But
great
you
for
don't
me.
you don't want to be in those situations. You don't want to be friends with those people.
But you're living in proof of doing what you want to do and kind of like being the person you want to be. Like you do what you want to do. I remember I think that I struggled with coming into professional sport was kind of like that feeling of like not being good enough. And then I would always sort of like suppress my personality in order to make it fit in with the norm of
100.
professional sport or the team. Like
Yeah.
I was 18. So my first contract at 17 for 4 years at the Bronx. So I knew I was going to be there for 4 years. And so I went in at 18 with like guys who I looked up to like since I was a 10-year-old, and they were still all there. But I didn't say a word for the first year. And I have conversations with a lot of footy players about this, about coming in, you got your idols, everyone's there, and you're like, I just want to make sure that they like me. You know what I mean? So I suppressed everything, and I was insecure, and I was like trying to like be the hardest trainer and trying to be as strong as I can. And it probably wasn't until I left to go to the Titans, and I was probably a little bit older. I left about 21, 22, and then got to hang around guys that I went to school with. I knew, and who knew like, I guess the real me, I guess. And I don't know, everyone's got a different, but maybe this is just the narrative that I tell myself. But it was almost like as soon as I like felt like I was myself and I was becoming more myself, then I was more confident, and then people liked me more anyway.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, it's wild.
I love that. Like you actually nailed it. And I think that's exactly what I've done moving to Sydney.
Yeah.
Like I am me, and I'm out there and I'm crazy, and that's okay. Like especially young kids want to see who you are. Like they don't want to see just, I call it like a character. We all go into character on court, right? Like same as on the field. You turn into someone who's a little bit different. Especially, we talk about energies, we talk about feminine and masculine energy. Like we're all in our masculine energy when we're playing sport. Like you want to be the toughest, you want to be the best, you want to be the hardest at the ball, and you want to win. And that's reality, right? And that's what I really struggled with coming off the court is I stayed in that character. Like I was always strong. I was always okay. I didn't get upset if I trained like shit. I'll just be better and bigger and stronger the next day. And, I'd listen to these motivational podcasts and get back up and, hero type things. And the reality is I actually just needed someone to just give me a hug and be like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And I trained like absolute shit on Tuesday. Terrible. Like just wasn't there. Bit tired, time of the month, like everything was happening. And Turner actually pulled me aside and she was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I actually don't know. And usually I'd be like, what? I'm fine. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and just shut it straight down. I was like, I don't know. Like, thank you for pulling me aside and thank you for telling me to be better.
Yeah.
But thanks for actually noticing that I'm not quite right today. I'll be better tomorrow. Don't you worry. So I sat down and I was like, okay, well, why wasn't I good enough today? Was I tired? Did I not eat enough? Am I just having a shit day? Do I need a journal? Do I need to go call mum? What do I need to do? And that's what you do, right? But when you don't accept and you don't understand who you are and you haven't done the work to understand who you are, I would just whap straight into that rug and gone on. And exactly what you said, I would have trained the hardest, would have been the best, but probably wouldn't have been the best, to be honest.
Yeah, it almost comes at like you think that's what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
And hey, props for Turner for stepping up.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of crew who would just be like, I'll just let it pass.
Yeah.
It'll just be a session. She'll be right.
She'll be right.
She'll
Yeah.
be right.
Yeah.
Like that happens. Everyone has their day.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's going on
Yeah.
in crew's life. And sometimes people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we had again, in the Leaders in League conference, we had Joel Selwood came and speak. Right. One of the great men.
He's
like,
cool,
he's so cool. Have you listened to him speak at all?
Yeah. He's a Geelong boy.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, well, he's we got to know his story pretty well over the last day or two, and he spoke about obviously all the struggles with going through, especially coming into retirement. He talked about like the IVF journey that him and his partner went on. You know, they had 13 attempts at IVF over a 2 year period. In like insane time. But what he did it really well in the sense where he told necessary people, he told the coach, CEO, his partner, and maybe one other teammate. And he just said, look, guys, there's going to be times where I'm not going to be at training because I want to be there for my partner. Great. So great. Yeah. And what I was getting at is that like he has his support work to lean on. he didn't tell the whole team.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a whole team thing. Partly, I think, because his partner wanted, she had her own work outside, and she wanted, that was her escape. Like work was her escape. So she didn't want it to be a whole public thing.
Yeah.
But they had their friendship groups to lean on.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see like you and the Swiss girls like have the relationship you have to be able to step in and just say, hey, like, how are you going?
Yeah.
Like what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's cool to call it out straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And props to her. She's like, what can I do? Like, what could I have done?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm at the end of the session, but what should I have done at the start when I saw you went there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's so true. And going back to what we said before, it's like what you put out is what you get back. And so I think that's a huge thing. And you attract exactly what you put out, and what you put out into the universe is, if I want to be caring and I want to know what's going on in your life, well, then Keegs is going to message me and check in on me, right? Because I want to check in on Keegs.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and if those people aren't doing that, then why are you around those people? What makes you want to be around those people? And I think that's so important as a young female or male. It's like, well, if caring and checking in on people isn't something that you want to do, well, okay, you're not going to get it back, right?
Yeah.
So you just hang around those people. But for me and for you, like, you know, you'll text me, hey, how are you? And who knows how I am, but you're there and you're there for me. And if I am going through, you know, a shit phase where I don't actually want to speak to my netball teammates because it might affect them, then I've got you to reach out to, or I've got someone else. And
sometimes like having, like, that's so great. A lot of the times you want to speak to someone, but it's too close.
Yeah.
Like it's too close to home. Having someone in that, in the sporting environment, even home environment, you need like a third party. But I love what you said around like good people attract good people.
Yeah.
Like if you want someone checking on you, like make the first step. Like, you know what I mean? And then, and it gives you so much energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're helping someone and you go out and you do a nice thing for someone, the energy you get, that's why you do it, right?
The best.
It's the best.
It's
like,
the best.
Like like you check in someone, hey, how you going? Yeah, I'm sweet. No, like how are you actually? It's like, oh, well, actually, like I'm a bit stressed. Like I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. How can I help? Like that's usually why you tell people, because like they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Give them like a little, and they might be able to help. Like imagine if Turner's just like, oh, well, how can I help you? And like, well, let's go for a coffee, or let's go for let's go out, let's go for a swim. You know what I mean? Like let's just do something. Like get away from it.
Yeah,
that stuff's so huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
I love. I'd love to probably dial in a little bit on injuries, if that's okay. I know. The end of last season was a bit of a roller coaster in terms of injuries, and you know, you guys obviously went on to the grand final. Could you tell me a little bit about that process and what the injury was, how you dealt with it, and how's the body now?
Yeah, I sure can. I think last year, the last whole year has been one of the biggest learning curves I've had in my nearly 24 years of living. So it was Christmas. What was it? Would have been 22. I actually tore my meniscus. Bit on the DL. I just knew what I did and had to get it taken out. So surgery, which bumped me back 6 to 8 weeks. So I was leading into Christmas. I was like really fit, really strong, feeling really good about everything. And I guess this little setback happened, and I've had that surgery before, so I knew what I was in for. Knew what I had, and I think one of my best but worst traits is I'm just 100%. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm on the court, off the court, like it's 100% or nothing. And rehab was really hard because I didn't want to do body weighted squats. Yeah. I didn't want to walk. I didn't want to do lunges. I wanted to run, and I wanted to jump, and I wanted to squat heavy. And I think I went really hard in rehab. Really hard, came back again really strong. Coming into pre-surgery, I was feeling good, which helped post-surgery. I flew through that surgery in 6 weeks. I was back, and then started to get a bit of a sore foot during mid-Jan. Again, probably in my masculine energy, and was just like, I'm sweet. I'll be fine. It's sweet. So I didn't say anything. I just like my Achilles is a bit sore, my foot's a bit sore. Like, can I just have a bit of a rub? You know, a month passed. I'm like, shit, this is getting worse. Like, this is getting really sore. So said something. So that's 2 months after surgery when my foot's probably started to get a bit sore, and they're like, oh yeah, sweet, we'll just treat it. So then I started treating it properly. Started, getting on everything and monitoring load and the appropriate way. But it was a bit too late by then, and had plantar fasciitis, which people who've had that, it's pretty,
Sucks.
it's pretty shit injury. But I was like, push through, like you're sweet. Round 1, 2 were all right. Like I was getting through, and then it hit, I think it was round 3 and round 4. It was after the Sunshine Coast game. We're in Sunny Coast. I think it was, round 4. And I played my first full 60 minutes of the season. So I didn't want to pull myself off, but I was hurting. Gotcha. There was 4 minutes to go, and I just went up for a ball and just like felt something, just like, I don't even know what it was. And I came down, I was like, holy, this is hurting. Yeah. Played the rest of the game, and shoes came off straight away, and I just could hardly wait there. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know what this is. And physio's like, yeah, all right, that's not great. Like, let's just real rest you up. So I took that week off training, did captain's run, some good pain meds, but still didn't even break the surface. So didn't really play much that game. So I got through onto the next round. So what's that, round 5 or 6? It was against the Giants at home. Again, went to take off I was running backwards, went to take off for a forward ball, and just like looked over the bench. I'm like, I'm done. Yeah, like, I'm so done. Out. So pulled myself off. We had the sub and just like went out the back and just bawled my eyes out. And I was just like, I'm done. Like this hurts so bad. I just don't know what I've done. And the physio is trying to console me. Like, you'll be right. Like, you're tough. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm tough, but this is something else.
Did you think that at that point, like probably finals might not be an option?
No, not a chance of that. It was just missing one game. Yeah, I was like that with missing one game. Yeah, like, I can't get back. And yeah, she's like, you'll be right, we'll be right, we'll rehab. So then that's when rehab started, got the MRI, realised I had a tear, a fair bit of edema, like which is bruising through my foot and swelling. And there's not much room for swelling at all in your foot, right? Yeah. So I'm just can't wait there, just in the worst mood possible, but obviously live with teammates, right? So you can't be moping around, like that's not fair on them. And I guess props to them, they're like, you can do what you want, like we're off court. I'm like, no, it's not good enough, right? So back in the gym, back rehabbing, trying my best, and we tried like the aggressive approach where it was like keep running, keep pushing, like you can do it type thing, and we'll get you back for finals. I'm like pushing, and it's just not getting better. It's just not getting better. And I actually went home. The coach was like, I reckon you should go home and see fam for a little bit. Yeah. So I went back to Melbourne and, spent time with mum and dad, which, everything goes away.
It's always nice. Get a little meals cooked for you. Yeah, washing's done. Yeah, we're in sync. What's up. Yeah, you get it.
And I think, I left my world back in Sydney and came home, and mum and dad were there, so everything's okay. And got the phone call from our S&C actually, and he just said, look, we're going to have to potentially call finals. You're going to have to get your head around it. Like, we're going to have to go a bit more of the passive approach. You're going to have to take time off legs. You're just going to have to rest. You're going to have to go inside yourself and just rest. And that's the worst thing you can
How hard was that? Because for someone who has very high perfectionism, how hard was that to be like, no, don't make me do it. Like, I just want to try. I just need to get back.
Yeah, I think I went through every wave of emotion possible since the injury started, like anger, sad, feeling sorry for myself, feeling bad, feeling guilty. Like, why didn't I say something earlier? Yeah. Like, how stupid can you be, Allie? Just say when you've got a sore foot. So I went through every emotion, and I think one of the last ones was acceptance. And I just had to accept what I was going through. Is it going to make you feel better? How much energy do I use with thinking about and anxiety and anger and all those emotions that I was feeling? How much energy is that taking away from actually the healing phase of my foot? And I was like, you've just got to accept, Allie. Yeah. And so I guess that was then that phase of accepting it, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to lead? How am I going to be me, but not showing what I can do? Yeah. Which is hard, right? A young player trying to step up off the court and be okay when I wasn't okay. I didn't want to go to training because I can't train, or I didn't want to sit. And it's not like I'm in the rehab group now that's, still I was sitting there. I wasn't doing anything. I'd still work the upper body and still on the grinder, but I'm just like, this sucks. Rehab is one of the worst places to be. It's such a lonely place. Yeah. And I was lucky. I did have 2 of the other girls in rehab, but every rehab's different, right? And you isolate yourself, and I think I just really went internal and was like, well, if I'm going to make this work, like, I can't be internal. I have to accept, but also give me that I can be off the court. And I think that's when my brain flipped. I'm like, all right, well, great. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to give them what I can see off the court. So I
Yeah.
sat up the top of the stand and I was just yelling out, I don't even know what.
Yeah, I'd love to get a clip of that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that in person.
And just giving all I can give with feedback. And, you know, if I was out there, this is what I'd love to see, or this is what makes it easier for me as a wing defense, or, you know, when I'm chucking in different positions, you know, how's that make you feel? Or, you know, doing extra PA, being like, oh, like when I was playing, how am I going to be better next season? And it turned into, well, how good am I going to be next season? So yeah, we pushed and I thought I'd be back for finals. Still that little feeling in the back of my mind, and you know, everyone's checking in, being like, how you feeling? And you know, you don't want to give it away.
And that's also got to be hard as well, because everyone wants what's best for you, like your friends, your family, like me, everyone at work, like everyone's like wants what's best. So everyone's gonna ask, how are you going? Like how's the foot? Like how's your body? Like are you gonna be right for finals?
Yeah.
And that must be pretty exhausting. Being like, doing my best.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to see how we go. Like maybe we will, maybe we won't. Like is that
so flat.
Yeah.
It's just I knew I wasn't gonna be back. There's like two sides of me. It's like the real, I guess, you know, and then there's the vulnerable and the feelings, and that Allie wasn't ready to accept that she's gonna miss finals. And I said to my S&C, I was like, I'm gonna make it back. He's like, yeah, you are. Like, and they did. And props to S&C, our S&C and physio. They never once told me I wasn't going to.
Great.
They were just like, yeah, well, this is what we've got to do today. And it's what we're going to do tomorrow and the next day. And if we feel shit, we go backwards. If we feel good, we push forwards. And that's the best thing for me, rather than having a set plan like you're going to be running in 2 weeks. Because if I wasn't going to be running in 2 weeks, then isn't that just a massive kick in the guts and we start again? Anyway, so I didn't make finals and I had to sit on that secondary bench in where the crowd was, which also really hurt. But again, props to my players and the girls. Like, they were just around me the whole time, and the grand final was about them, but they still made me feel like I was playing in the grand final.
Well, you're part of the team.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you're a huge contributor to the whole team. It's not just the girls who take the court. It's staff. It's people who are training. It's people who are with you for the whole year. It's a family. Get everyone. That's why everyone's celebrating at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
But I can't imagine in that time you kicking stones. I would imagine you would have got around the girls a lot and you would have been pumping them up for the grand final.
Yeah. I was like, this is it. We're going to win.
Let's go, girls. Yeah.
Let's not talk about the ending.
Yeah.
So then I guess we lost the grand final by 1 in overtime, and
that was an insane game, just by the way.
Sick,
I remember watching that thinking like, the girls are coming back. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, it was an unreal, just like our final series in general was just like 2 overtime games. Like, you can't fault that. So then, we went into break and holidays, and I rehabbed. Rehabbed, went back to the gym, back to the drawing board, and just was like, 2024 is in my sight. We obviously went through that mad pay dispute and the industrial dispute, which was pretty hard, not getting paid for a huge chunk, I guess you'd say, and I had to pick up another job and still work how to do rehab and work a 9 to 5 type thing. So that was also another little bump in the road. Just when like, couldn't get any more stressful, we'll just take your wage away from you, which I undersell that, because I know how difficult that was for you and all the girls. I don't downplay that at all. No, it's a bit of a laugh now. But reality is, right, we're not getting paid. And we rely, living in Sydney, rent's expensive, and I relied on that money and didn't have it, so I had to pick up a second job, still be rehabbing and technically not really having a contract for 2024. We're all out of contract, which I think that was a huge thing playing on my mind. Like, I'm in rehab. Like, the coach doesn't know if my foot's going to be okay. Are they going to take that gamble on me?
Tough time to be off contract, yeah. Especially the amount of movement that was going on in the girls'
space. Heaps of movement. New club coming in. Yeah. Lucky my manager's an absolute legend, and he was with me all the way, and great comms, but again, until you've actually signed that dotted line, anyone could come in and take your spot.
But look at you now, Allie. Like, you came in here and you were like, Keegs, I'm feeling fitter and stronger than ever.
Keegs, I'm good.
I was like, how are you? Like, I feel great. But you must be so like, we've obviously talked on like some really great topics, which I'm super grateful we have. But winding down, like, what are you looking forward to this year? Because you do, like, you look super fit, you look strong, like you obviously been training hard.
Yeah, training solid.
Yeah.
Which is so good. I just think like every time I'm nearly passing out in this preseason court, I'm like, you know what, just think about the rehab, Allie. Like you can do it, enjoy it, put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm so content in my life right now, which is sick. Like netball is unreal. I've got a new job working in a law firm as an EA, which is amazing. And then just the crew I've got around me is just unreal. Like we do gratitude and you're the same.
Love that.
And every day, just like my friends and family come up. Like I'm in the position where I can just pick up the phone and call any one of my people and they're going to answer and be there for me, whether it's the best day ever or I just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Life's good. I'm content.
But this year, you look at what's
exciting?
What's exciting coming up?
Premiership.
Yeah.
Premiership is just, we're looking good. Sammy Wallace is back, which just you see her play, and I think there's going to be a few training clips that are coming out on the Swifties page, and she's been out for 2 years with injury, her ACL.
Oh wow.
Key goal shooter that's just an absolute star. So seeing her back on the court and just knowing that she's going to catch any ball you throw her is just the best feeling.
Yeah.
But just playing, like I guess the season was cut real short this year, last year, sorry, and just getting out there, and there's no better feeling than that little nerve that you get before the game and looking around and seeing your family and friends in the crowd, or just these little girls that have got the red Swifties face paint, and you're just like, yeah, this is what it's all about, right?
It's very cute.
And I think off court is just still learning who I am and embracing who I am and putting back. Like I'm loving giving back at the moment and just, you know, being here speaking about what I've gone through and that everyone's journey is different, and hey, why don't I get mine out there? Because, you know, even if it's just one little girl or little boy that can hear what we're talking about and feel like, oh, that's what I've got to do, or, oh, it's okay where I am. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And just open up and just promote mental health, but also promote accepting who you are and loving who you are, because everyone's amazing. Everyone's amazing.
Allie, you're the best. That was so well said. I love everything you just said just then. You did touch on your gratefulness, your gratefuls. What are you grateful for today?
Grateful for you and this whole place. No, I am. We haven't caught up in ages.
It's been before Christmas.
When I saw your phone call, I was like, absolutely.
You're the best.
Absolutely. Let's go for a cough. But I'm super grateful. We do gratitude every day at training.
I need 3 things.
Three. Okay. Yeah. Well, this podcast and you getting my story out and mental health out, because I think that's a huge step in the right direction. 2 is my housemates. They're unbelievable. If I have a late arvo in the office, I come home and my dinner's cooked by Sophie Fawns. So shout out to you, Sophie Fawns.
Sophie's, I wanted to talk about, Soph is so funny. I look at your close friend stories so often, and if she's on it, I'm honestly like in tears laughing. So don't ever stop doing that.
Right,
yeah,
I've actually got that feedback a bit.
Yeah, it's so good.
And 3, I'm grateful to be able to live a life where I can make decisions for myself. And I'm going to keep doing that, because that's what makes you happy. That's what makes me happy. And we're privileged to do that. Not many people around the world, or there is people, but not a lot of people get to do it or can choose whether they can or can't do it. So that's something that I'm really grateful for, and I think I'll always be.
So beautiful. Can I tell you mine? Can I tell you mine?
I would love to hear yours.
Okay, well, mine is a beautiful weekend with the leaders in the NRL. We had a great weekend with guys and girls who I've looked up to forever, and now obviously I do a lot of stuff with the Players Association in the NRL. So just catching up with them and having a great weekend, like catching up with Maddie and Chloe Malloy and Ellie Brush and like just some of the best, Joel Selwood, Cooper Chapman, like just some amazing people. Yeah. So that was amazing. Sam coming in on a Saturday morning, got my man behind camera, shooting some behind the scenes. Really grateful for him, and Tom as well. And last but not least, like you, Allie, like I'm so bloody grateful to not only have you in today, but to have you as a friend. Like your friendship is something that I truly value, and we talked about it before, how it's nice to have someone that you can pick up the phone to, and I feel very comfortable to be able to pick up the phone to you. So, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for your friendship. like I said, you're looking strong and you're looking fit, and I'm looking forward to you just smashing it this year. So thank you for today.
Oh, thanks, Keegan.